I was sitting here thinking that it would be really cool if I could stick one of these stickers on my boat. I love Ms. Geico. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I don't think it needs brushless, but in order to stick one of these stickers on there, I'm pretty much going to have to go brushless. So I'm going to try to do a low power brushless system, because if I put too much power on this, my little small area within walking distance, I won't be able to drive this there, which is the main draw for keeping this brushed. So I'm going to do a little experimentation and see what I can do with it.
Team Baxter.
I've got my electronics together. I am planning on using a SR200WP. This is one of the older style Spectrum waterproof receivers, and this will get tucked nicely up in there, and I won't have to do any additional waterproofing to this. Short antenna, so I'm going to set it right under the antenna hole. But this requires no preparation, so it's good how it is, and I can stick it in and install the electronics to it just how it is. I'm also dealing with a Velineon, a Traxxas Velineon, which is way too much power for this Ms. Geico, and that would be the reason why I planned on using a castle system, so that I can go in the software and turn this motor way down. Probably the easiest way that I can think of getting a handle on this motor. It's listed as 4,000 kV 8-pole, which is tremendous for that little Ms. Geico, so I'm going to wind it down a good little bit. That's the electronics setup. As I said, the receiver is ready, the motor is ready, doesn't need a lot of work. So I just need to do a little bit of waterproofing on this Mamba Micro Pro. This is not a waterproof ESC, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of work. That involves taking the sticker off, opening the case up. I'm going to have to, I'm going to use dielectric grease on this one, so I'm going to spread dielectric liberally around the inside, and then sandwich it all in here, and that will be the extent of my waterproofing. Not too concerned about heat because of this nice heat sink on there, which is much better than the existing setup. Also, this should be able to handle everything a little bit better than the stock ESC that's in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this opened up and start spreading it with dielectric grease and get it cleaned up so I can get it installed. The last thing that I have to do in preparation is I bought a couple of motor couplers. The current motor coupler is too small for the current motor. This will not fit on the end of the shaft, so I'm going to have to drill this out with the appropriate size drill bit to accommodate this motor. I'll be doing that all before I start pulling the electronics out of Ms. Geico. So clean up and waterproof the ESC and drill out the motor coupler so that I can install the motor. Sure, you can get an appropriate motor coupler if you look around, but I got a couple spare motor couplers, and why not just drill the one out? So I took my drill and marked where I needed to drill down to and drilled the coupler out. That's done, and I'll release it from the clamp. So scarred it up just a little bit, but now I've got a good coupler for this motor. You can see the shaft fits right on the coupler now, and hopefully I drilled straight down so that the coupler won't be lopsided while it's rolling. So that's how I got the coupler to fit. I've got the Mamba Micro Pro pulled apart. You can see just the board with the cooling fin sitting on top of it. So I'm going to run dielectric grease on both sides of the board and get it up under the fan as well as I can. And that's going to be it for my waterproofing. Not much dirt. This is pretty good. I accidentally broke the case just a little bit, but when I put the label back on, that should take care of that. So this probably will get less water than a lot of my trucks will. A lot of moisture in the air, tight compartments. So Also, I noticed these wires are a little delicate, so I need to be a little careful. Go ahead and get this done and get this put back away before I break anything. There's the ESC closed up with grease hanging out all over the place. Get that cleaned up and get the sticker back on there so it looks nice and pretty. So I got the ESC all closed up and I went ahead and got it prepared. I took it through the Castle software and set it up to run in the boat. I dropped the power down to 70% just because full power will be too much for the boat. 70 is probably going to be a little bit high, but I plan on using throttle control. Also edited the throttle curve to kind of help me out a little bit so that it's not so jumpy. So the ESC is done, the coupler is drilled, no other work to do on the electronics. Now it's time to gut Ms. Geico. I am doing this mod to be completely reversible, so all of the components that I'm getting ready to pull out of here will be able to put back in there. So I'm pulling the motor, reusing the cooling for my brushless motor, and I'm pulling the ESC, and then I'll be reinstalling the new system that I've just prepared. So I've got it gutted pretty much of everything that I wanted out of it. I'm leaving the servo in there just because there's no need to replace it. The cooling hose is still attached because it's a little bit of a pain to disconnect it, so I just set that off to the side. But now I'm ready to work on getting the new electronics in. I've wiped away the extra grease from my previous grease installations, and I'll make sure I'll get that greased up real well when I'm finished the installation. But the first thing I'm going to do is install the motor, and with the motor I've taken off the little metal jacket. This does nothing. It may disputably pull a little bit more heat away from the motor, but what this does is give a better contact to the cooling jacket, the existing cooling jacket. So I went ahead and pulled that off the brush motor. I'm going to slide that on this brushless motor and then get that installed just where the old motor was, using the existing mount, and that will go right there. I've installed these little pieces of double-sided tape. Good friend of mine, Eduardo, put his impulse through a similar mod. I'm doing a little bit different than him, but he used that as a little bit of form of shock absorption, and I'm sure that doesn't hurt anything, and it probably helps. So I'm going to do the same thing, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get this motor installed using the new coupler that I fabricated a little bit earlier. I'm going to put that coupler on this motor in the correct position and not tighten it, just get it down on there. So get the motor installed right now. Pretty simple, just gets 2 screws and gets mounted onto this coupler. No need to do it on camera, and then I'll come right back. I got excited and got everything installed and ran out to test it real quick before it got too late to. And battery's already hooked up. Let me turn it on. That's more like it. So you can see I got everything in there. The Velineon motor with the water cooling, the Mamba micro up in there, and a 2S battery sitting sideways. Everything else is okay. Steering's good. If I turn the radio on, steering would be good. So steering's good, trim's a little off, but I'll adjust that. Pull this rudder, the prop off my pants, but you can hear that going. Put the top on here, get the antenna on there, and I'll get it in the water. So I got it in the water, and quick test run. So it needs a little ironing out. I've turned it down way too much. So my low end is way too low. And then you can see where the throttle kind of kicks in. Now that's a drastic speed difference at 70%, but at low throttle, I'm getting a little pulsing. and now seem to have lost steering. So I'm gonna stop and get this back to shore and get it ironed out. So I'd have to say the conversion did pretty well. I don't have any complaints. The ESC got a little hotter than I'd like, so maybe that's something I'm gonna have to look into. I did experience a little glitchy on the servo. I'm not actually sure what's going on with there. Performance, I liked it. I have other larger boats that satisfy my I guess need for speed, for lack of a better term. So not sure if I need this one to go this fast. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna still continue experimenting with different systems and electronics, but I don't know if this one's gonna stay in here. Does it work? Definitely. How long will it be effective? I can't say that for sure. It's definitely not intended for this boat, so definitely kind of seeing what I can get out of it. So yeah, that's the Traxxas Velineon with the Mamba Micro Pro in there.